start a couple housekeeping items. Emergency exits are to both sides, out this way and out that way. So in the event of an emergency, please locate your closest exit. We'll start with roll call on the left.
Kathy Mestemaker Harris. Kathy Mestemaker Harris.
Ali Z.
Carla Desjardins.
June Gagne.
John Meyer.
Katie O'Neill.
Brian Brink. Sean Staub.
Samantha Greaves.
Mark Freitas.
All right. So we do have a quorum, and this evening I'll be appointing Kathy Mestemaker Harris for Frank Mills and Zulfiqar Ali for Dan Kapsavich. So before we open the public hearings, just to set some of the housekeeping ground rules, the applicant will present first. But everyone who has a comment or a question will have opportunity to speak. We ask out of respect for everybody that you try to keep your comments limited to around 3 minutes. If after you've gone for your 3 minutes, you wish to speak again, you can certainly come back into line and speak again. So you absolutely have the ability to ask every question and make every comment that you need related to the applications this evening. Now, the first two public hearings are on different items. They are on a text amendment and a zone change. It is not a project application. So just to make sure that we're all on the same page, text amendment determines what you can do. A zone change determines where you can do it. The applicant, of course, has an example of what they want to do, but it is not a project application. So there is not a project being reviewed, approved, or denied this evening. We are looking at a text amendment and a zone change, which could allow for such project. So just so we're all on the same page for that. So starting the public hearing this evening, we have two applications that will be running concurrently, the text amendment and the zone change. So it's application 25-6BC of Costco Wholesale Corporation, requesting to change the zone of the following parcels to Industrial 2. 407 Tarbox Road, currently RA30 residential, 107 plus acres with 875 plus feet frontage on Tarbox Road, Assessors Map 4, Block 4, Lot 1. 0 Tarbox Road, currently RA30 residential, 29 plus acres with 620 feet frontage on Tarbox Road, Assessors Map 4, Block 4, Lot 3. 0 Howe Road, currently RA30 residential, 4.3 acres with 245 feet of frontage on Howe Road, Assessors Map 5, Block 4C, Lot 004. 0 Pine Lane, currently RA30 residential, 8.1 acres with 800 feet along Pine Lane, Assessors Map 5, Block 4C, Lot 31. 1197 Norwich Road, currently Industrial 1, 59.8 acres with 1,020 feet frontage on Norwich Road, Assessors Map 5, Block 4, Lot 40. Also opening concurrently will be application 25-5TA of Costco Wholesale Corporation, requesting text amendment to the zoning regulations for section 9.31 bulk table to modify the setback requirements for the Industrial 1 and Industrial 2 districts pertaining to retaining walls, and also projects where a town line bisects the development. Section 19.2 to eliminate the building design standards for the Industrial 1 and Industrial 2 districts, and Section 19.3.8 for the site lighting to delete the 20-foot maximum height requirements for site lighting for the I-1 and I-2 districts. So now I open the floor for the applicant for the public hearing for those two applications.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is John Nuff. I'm an attorney with the office at 42 Cherry Street in Milford, Connecticut, and I'm here tonight on behalf of Costco Wholesale Corporation, as well as the four subject property owners, Bridge LLC, P&J Holdings LLC, P Camp Holdings LLC, and 1197 Norwich Road. A couple of housekeeping items. First, we are using a PowerPoint presentation so the public can see. We have also provided hard copies for all the commission members, so if you choose to follow along on the paper copy, you can. Or if you want to crane your neck and twist around, you can do that as well. But those have been submitted for the record. Also, we have provided notices to our neighbors as required by your regulations, but we did it in two different ways. Certified mail, return receipt requested for your regulations, but also the state statute says you can only do certificates of mailing. So out of extreme caution, we provided 2 notices to everybody, and proof of all those mailings have been provided to your staff. So with that, I want to introduce the folks on our team. With me this evening are Mark Marquesana, who's the Director of Development with Costco, Seth Katz, who's the Assistant Vice President of Real Estate with Costco, Michelle Carlson, who's a Professional Engineer and Executive Director of BL Companies, Barbara Mosier, who's a Professional Engineer and Professional Traffic Engineer with Kittleson, and Justin LaFontaine from Goldman in York, who is our Fiscal Impact Expert. So as you noted, Madam Chair, there are 2 applications before you. The first is to rezone 202 acres located just east of the Canterbury Town Line and west of Norwich Road from I-1 and RA 30 to Industrial 2. I would note that about 60 acres, I think 59.8 as you mentioned, is currently zoned Industrial 1, and we can explain why we did that in a moment. Rather than rezone everything from RA 30 to I-1, I think it's more protective of the town to just rezone everything to I-2. And the second application is an amendment to the Canterbury zoning regulations. As you noted, was that?
Plainfield.
Sorry, Plainfield, I apologize. We were there last week. The Plainfield zoning regulations, as you know, Madam Chair, we're going to run both of these hearings concurrently. So these, as you noted, nothing can happen as a result of these applications. The applications are just the first step to enable Costco to construct a depot facility in the town of Canterbury and the potential for a future building in the town of Plainfield. And so, you know, depot is just a place where product comes in, gets resorted, and sent back out to Costco warehouse retail locations. As you'll see, the site has been carefully designed to minimize impacts to neighbors, wetlands and water courses, and nearby road network while providing very substantial employment opportunities to Plainfield and surrounding areas. The depot project is also consistent with your 2018 Plan of Conservation Development, which calls for creating employment opportunities and attracting environmentally conscious companies to locate on industrial land, in particular because of the infrastructure improvements along the 395 corridor. So it's important, as you noted, Madam Chair, to understand what these 2 applications are in our overall process. Approval of these applications will not allow us to construct anything, but they are a critical first step. If these applications are approved, the project will still be subject to rigorous review by other agencies. In fact, we would have to come back to you for a site plan application, and as you know, our use is a permitted use in the I-2 zone. In particular, so here's the other applications and approvals that we would need. Approval from your Inland Wetlands Commission, site plan approval from this commission, the Office of State Traffic Administration, which is the entity within the DOT, which has to approve all traffic improvements and will review off-site traffic improvements, everything that, because we're on a state highway, every traffic issue under the sign will come under review of OSTA. And they have jurisdiction, obviously, over 395, but also Route 12. Obviously, we have to go into deep as well for general permit, and then back to your town for a building permit. So, again, this is simply a very critical first step, but also nothing is being approved as part of, for construction as a part of these applications. So we have a fair amount of information to review with you, so we prepared a concise but thorough presentation. We're going to present the zone change application together with our concept plans. We're going to focus a bit on traffic and economic impacts, and then the last thing we'll be discussing is our regulation amendment application. So Kevin, if you can put up, so here is our overall site, and I hope you can see this. So the yellow outline is the entire site in both Plainfield and Canterbury. And just so to orient everyone, most of the plans you're going to be seeing this evening, north is to the right. So the town line between Canterbury and Plainfield, which runs north and south, on our plans is running east and west, at least on the plan view. So you have Canterbury at the top of the page, is 230 or so acres, and that 202 acres is located in Plainfield. You'll see that there is a portion of the property outlined in yellow that extends down to Route 12, Norwich Road, and that is the parcel that's currently zoned I-1. There's going to be the only truck access into the site is going to be from that that area that extends down into toward Route 12. All employee traffic will be entering and exiting the site via Bush Bridge Road. And by the way, as I mentioned, we had to do a zone change and regulation change in the town of Canterbury, and both of those were approved last Thursday night. So let's take a look at the actual zone change map. So here are the 5 properties. The property that is pink is currently zoned Industrial 1. The rest of the properties are currently zoned R830. We're proposing to change all those zones, all the properties, from I1 and R830 to I2. Your POCD specifically calls for I2 as a preference over I1 because there's a limited number of uses. It's considered to be more environmentally friendly, and so that was the reason why, rather than rezone the entire property or the R830 to match the I1 zone, we are rezoning everything from I1 to I2. So that it's my pleasure to introduce Seth Katz from Costco, who will give you a little bit of background in terms of the actual depot use that we would be constructing in the town of Canterbury, as well as the proposed or the potential building in the town of Plainfield, and more importantly, tell you a little bit about Costco as well.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Seth Katz. I'm Assistant Vice President of Real Estate for Costco Wholesale. I've been with the company almost 19 years. Costco is a little bit different as a retail concept in that we're what's called a membership warehouse club, which means that our members have to pay us a membership fee in order to shop in our stores. And what that means is we have to provide our members great value. One of the ways we do that is we provide a limited selection of products across a broad range of categories, everything from basics like milk and eggs to electronics, appliances, apparel, food accessories. Our mission statement you can see up here is to continually provide our members with quality goods and services at the lowest possible prices. We have a very strict code of ethics, which is a little different than many other companies. And the first one on there is obey the law. We take that very seriously. We make it a bright line to follow the law with our people, and we want people to make good decisions and to feel good about it. Number 2, we have to take care of our members. They are the reason why we exist. Number 3, we take care of our employees. They are our greatest asset and the single best reason for our success. We respect our vendors, and we believe if we do those 4 things, that we will then reward our shareholders. We're very proud of the fact that we have over 145 million cardholders. Excuse me. And as a sign of the fact that our members appreciate what we do, they renew at over 92% every year. In the U.S., we have over 600 membership warehouse clubs. Many people would call them stores or retail facilities. And we service those and keep the shelves full, if you will, through our depot network, which, as John mentioned, is how we distribute our goods to our store. The project, and here on the map, you can see the white dots represent our existing membership warehouse clubs. The blue dot in northern New Jersey is our existing depot facility, which services this area. And the red dot is the proposed facility in Canterbury and Plainfield. The reason we have these facilities is they provide us with a highly efficient logistics network. They allow us to drive the costs of moving goods out of the network and therefore allow us to improve our member value. The facility we're looking at has a couple of different components, and we'll have site plans that will go through that in a bit more detail. But in simple terms, it's a cross-dock facility. where on one side of the building, we receive goods from our suppliers, we sort them, and then ship them out the other side to our membership warehouse club. It allows us to be incredibly efficient and to drive great pricing on our goods. The vast majority of the facility is what's called the dry sort area. A portion of it, about a third, is refrigerated for products that need to have cold chain. So we think about meat and produce and fruits and vegetables and the like. We have an area for returns and some storage as well. And then, as relevant here in Plainfield, what's nice about this campus is it allows us the opportunity for future growth over time. And I think it's important to mention that this would be a Costco-owned facility. We're not leasing it from a spec developer on a 5 or a 10-year lease. We intend this to be a generational facility, which is why the ability to expand the site here in Plainfield is so important to us over time. We've been doing depots for more than 25 years, and the design has evolved over time. As we've been in communities for that period of time, we understand what works and what doesn't. More importantly, we understand what it takes to be a good neighbor. And we'll talk about some of the things that we've done on this site that we think make it work particularly well. But we know many of the concerns that will be raised relate to truck parking and truck access. And we'll talk about some of the things we're doing there to make sure that the trucks don't stay in the community, but that they go from the interstate, across Highway 12 to our site, where we will have plenty of space for them to queue and stage over time. We also know that design is really important, and making sure that we meet all of the relevant regulations for dark sky and for light pollution and sound and noise attenuation. And so you'll see some of the design features we've done for that to ultimately come up with the design you'll see tonight, which we're very proud of. Lastly, I want to talk about our people, our employees, and the jobs and careers we provide. We call them careers, not jobs, because so many of our people start in one place and have the opportunity to grow and advance over time. And the absolute best example I can give you of that is that our current CEO and president started at the company as a forklift driver. And so if he can move up through the ranks, anybody can. When you look at our jobs that we'll offer for year one, we believe we'll start with about 190 positions with an average hourly wage of $26 an hour. That works out to about $9.7 million in wages to the community. Our benefits cost us about 55% of our wages, and so that means it's about $15 million in wages and benefits in year one. By year 5, as we continue to maximize use of the facility, we think we would grow to 250 positions with an average hourly wage of over $30 an hour. And what that means in wage and benefits to the community is 15 million in wages and 24+ million in both wages and benefits. Most of the positions in the building will be material handlers, forklift operators, plant truck operators, and the like. Starting wages are $21 an hour, with top of scale wages just under $34 an hour. And lastly, I'm going to talk about our benefit package. While many companies offer benefits, very few companies offer benefits with the richness that we provide. And you'll see here the scope of some of the key benefits we provide. I'd like to talk a bit about our healthcare benefits, because I believe they're extraordinarily rich. On average, our goal is for the company to pay 92% of employee medical costs, and the employee pays 8%. And so we believe in our people being healthy. We believe in them using their benefits with both preventative care and care as necessary. And one of the things that we look at to see how well we're doing relative to our people are two stats that I have here at the bottom. 95% of our employees are benefits eligible. To be benefits eligible, you either need to work part-time over 24 hours or full-time. Of that 95%, 97% are enrolled in our benefits. So when you think of all of the dual income families who have a choice of picking benefits from either spouse, where they have a choice with Costco benefits, 97% of the time, they're choosing our benefit plan. And we're really proud of that fact. Not only do we believe that helps the individual employees, it helps their families, and ultimately it's supportive of the community as well. The other stat I want to mention is that after 1 year of service, our turnover rate is only 8%, which is extraordinarily low both in retail and in distribution type jobs. So as we look at our scorecard for whether we're doing right by our employees, those statistics help us feel good about what we're doing and the jobs we have. Now, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Michelle, who will talk more about the specifics of the project. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. My name is Michelle Carlson, a licensed professional engineer. I work at BL Companies located in Meriden, Connecticut. So just to orientate everybody again to the site plan, the property, the town line is right here, the black line, just above the future building. It runs north to south, east being the bottom of the page, west top of page, north to the right, page right, south page left. There's 202 acres of this project are located in Plainfield. The first part of the development is the depot here, and this section is in Canterbury, and it's approximately 540,000 square feet. That's what's going to be constructed initially. Then the future expansion of the depot will bring the total square footage of the depot to about 1.1 million square feet. The future building, which is entirely in Plainfield, will be approximately 1.1 million square feet. As others have said, truck access is all from Route 12 here. And from Route 12, the trucks will come in up to the guardhouse right here. And by the guardhouse, we have full pen parking that can fit approximately 125 trucks. The distance from Route 12 to the guardhouse is about 2,300 feet, which is about a half a mile. It's almost a half a mile from the entrance to the guardhouse, so there's plenty of queuing. Employees for the facilities will enter off of Butts Bridge Road. There's an employee lot up here for the depot, and there's an employee lot here in Plainfield for the future building. And the reason that the traffic is separated is for safety reasons. We do not want cars coming in and driving through the truck yard to get to the parking lot. That's not a safe condition. So we need to keep the employees' cars and the trucks completely separate. That's why the entrances are where they are. This site has been carefully designed to maintain existing buffers, stormwater management ponds on site that will be further designed in accordance with the regulations. We also have, on this site, we're maintaining the green here, 104 acres of the 202 acres. That's 51% of the site is not even being touched as part of this project. So 51% of the site remains untouched as part of this project. We are also working to balance the site, which means the earthwork will be balanced. There's not going to be any major hauling on and hauling off. The mass grading is going to be balanced on site within that area. On the Plainfield site of the 104 acres, we have approximately 20 acres of wetlands, which is roughly 20% of the site. What we're going to do, in addition to maintaining a good section of the mature vegetation on site, natural vegetation, is we're going to be supplementing it with an enhanced landscaping plan. We'll have canopy trees along the entrance. We'll fill in disturbed areas for grading. We'll plant those. We are also going to construct berms as part of the project here on the south side of the future building and over here on the north side, and that's to buffer and protect the residences from the project. The project is lower than the residence, and I'll explain that in a cross section in a few minutes and show you how they sit relative to one another. The berms consist of approximately 6.5 acres. So 50-foot wide berm, 6.5 acres. There's a good chunk of the project that's going to be dedicated to screening. In addition, on the Plainfield side, we're only putting, between the future building and the hardscape surfaces, that's roughly 33% of the entire 202 acres. So only 33% of this site will have building and hardscape on it as part of this development. And lastly, there are no proposed direct impacts to wetlands or water courses. There's no filling as part of this project in either town to the wetlands and water courses. The next, what we want to show you is the animation, and just to orientate yourself again, down here is Route 12 coming into the guardhouse, the bullpen parking. This is the future building in Plainfield. This is the depot building in Canterbury. So we're going to spin it around the aerial. You can see the major green buffers that we're maintaining around the project area. This is untouched as part of the development of this project. Now we're going to come in and drive into the site. And again, remember, this is almost a half a mile from the road to get to that guardhouse. You can see the vegetation before, street trees on both sides of the entrance. Now we're coming in by the future building. Pause here for a second. This wall then rises up to the 50-foot buffer, that berm that we're building, because there's residents here that are located on the northern part of the project in Plainfield over by Carbox. This is where this residential development is over here. And as you can see, the berm and then the screening, you're not going to see the houses. And we'll keep going around the building now. This is the north side. We're going to turn and drive south, which is left to right on the page, between the two buildings. Now we're going to turn, this is the employee lot in Plainfield that I showed you on the site plan. And here is another wall with then a berm that is landscaped. And then again, you don't see the residences that are on the south side of the project in Plainfield. Now the next slide, we're showing the landscape berm. Section AA is taken over on the Tarbox side. You can see that the Costco is down lower, and then this top of berm here is roughly 24, 25 feet from this point here. And then these evergreens at the time of planting will be 8 to 10 feet. So you're getting, 34, 35 foot screening from the top of the plantings at planting time to the bottom of the lot, with the residential area being over here. Section BB is over by that employee lot, the homes on the south side of the project in Plainfield. And with this, same thing, lower, okay, and then we have a 50-foot wide berm with 8 to 10 foot evergreens at the time of planting, providing roughly, 35 feet from the bottom here to the top of the evergreens at planting. So there will be a 4-season year-round screening on the top of that berm. Now this slide is just a depiction of utilities to serve the project. We have commitments from utility providers that they can provide service to this project. Sewer will come from the town of Plainfield, and then we have water, which is Connecticut Water, Eversource for power and gas, and then communications. So utility services are available to provide services to this project. So I'm going to turn it over to Barbara Mosier, the traffic engineer.
Good evening. So I am Barbara Moser, traffic engineer with Hiddleston and Associates. Hiddleston is an engineering and planning firm with a 25-year history of working with Costco. And the relevance of that to you all is that we have maintained over those 25 years detailed data on Costco's traffic use, their traffic trip generation, that lets us create much more accurate models and future projections of traffic for Costco facilities, because we really sort of have that deep understanding of the nuance of their operations and their needs. So the slide here shows the traffic study intersections that we are currently looking at. So we will need to work through the traffic impact study process with OSTA, so they will have a lot of input into exactly what it is we study, but initially we have looked at these intersections, which include the Lathrop interchange, the intersection of Route 12 with Lathrop, our truck access on Route 12 and Butts Bridge, and the employee access on Butts Bridge. The traffic study that we have underway will look at the full build out, so not just the phase 1, but will include the phase 1 building in Canterbury with the expansion, as well as the future building anticipated in Plainfield. The initial results of that study are that we don't anticipate any issues. The traffic network appears to be able to accommodate our traffic that we anticipate being generated from that full build out, and we'll be working with OSTA to study that in detail. So some of the assumptions that are going into the study so far, we have our assumptions about distribution of the traffic. So this is looking specifically at employee access. We anticipate that the employees will be pretty evenly split north to south, mostly on Route 12 or Route 12 out to the highway, with some really small percentage oriented to Butts Bridge specifically, as they all access the driveway on Butts Bridge. Go to the next slide. In contrast, the trucks, we are assuming that the majority of the truck traffic is going to be oriented to the highway. Most of the traffic coming to this site in terms of trucks is going to be regional, is going to be coming to and from the interstate, and we are assuming, based on our knowledge of the traffic shed, basically like watershed of traffic, that our trucks are going to be utilizing the interchange here. A small percentage of them may continue north to the other two exits up Route 12, but that none of the traffic is going to be coming from the south on Route 12 or continuing, coming out of this site and continuing south on Route 12. So all of our truck traffic is anticipated to be oriented from between this employee access and the interchange here, with none to the south. We did hear pretty loud and clear at the community meeting that trucks elsewhere off our anticipated routes was a concern for folks, that trucks on less suitable roads was a concern. So we do, that's something that we discussed as a team, and Costco is definitely supportive of reasonable measures to make sure that we can enforce these, our anticipated truck routing. So this is an image of the existing location for the truck access is on the left here. This is the Jehovah's Witness driveway there, just for a point of reference. And then on the right, you can see what we are currently proposing. And again, this is going to have to be, this will all go through OSTA to get their approvals and get their concurrence on our analysis and our suggestions. But what we're proposing as turn lanes as well as a traffic signal to that truck access in order to make sure that we have safe and efficient movement through that intersection, and we're not going to have any crashes, we're not going to have any truck queuing or other issues there. So the the next slide is another video. So this video is showing the actual volumes from our traffic analysis. This is based on a BSIM model with the anticipated full build out. So this is not phase one of just the initial depot building in Canterbury. This is the full build out of both buildings. And as you can see in these volumes, and this is real time. So this is as if you are sitting there watching it in real life. This is welcome to being a traffic engineer. It is exciting. So you can see here that we have trucks generally coming from the north, accessing the site. Trucks leaving will be stopping for light and then heading north on Route 12. And we wanted to share this video. So this is showing the AM peak period, which is the AM peak of the adjacent street. So generally the busiest AM period on Route 12 itself, just to give you a sense of how this intersection is anticipated to operate with the trucks at their max volume and what that looks like in terms of operations. So you can see we don't anticipate, based on our analysis, any extensive queuing or long delays for the trucks or for the other folks who are currently using the roadway. And then the PM period is largely similar. The volume distribution on Route 12 in terms of existing volume flips around a little bit, and we have more outbound. But other than that, you can see a similar level of. You can see here you get a few folks waiting at the new light that we are proposing, but then everybody is able to clear through in a single signal cycle. So we don't anticipate any heavy delays or long queues. I think this is a pretty clear picture of the kinds of operations, smooth and relatively uncomplicated, as we could anticipate based on our full build out analysis. That's it for that one. That, I'll hand it back over.
Thank you, Barbara. Our last presenter is Justin LaFountain from Gilman, New York.
Good evening, Commission. My name is Justin LaFountain. I'm the Senior Vice President of Planning and Economic Development for Gilman, New York. We're based out of East Hartford. I'm an AICT certified planner, and my firm was brought on by Costco to sort of talk about the economic benefits that could result because of this project. You'll see in your packet that one of my colleagues, Dr. Don Poland, has prepared a much more comprehensive report than I'm going to get into tonight, but definitely read through that. There's some interesting history and interesting different economic views in there. Before I get into sort of the slides, I do just want to take a moment to thank you all. We all realize that you're all volunteers, so we thank you for taking the time to do this. It's a thankless job. Until about a year and a half ago, I was sitting where your planners are on the municipal side of things. So thank you very much for your time. So to get into this a little bit, we want to talk about the economic impact. We've already heard about some of the jobs that are going to be created because of this. But we'll start out with the construction jobs, which will obviously occur first. We have ways of calculating how many, essentially, what we call full-time equivalent construction jobs will result from a project. It's basically a calculation that results from the dollar value of the construction taking place, translated into how many hours that will create in terms of work, divide that throughout the year. Long story short, you can read the whole calculation in your packet, but what we get is 129 construction jobs that are either sustained or created as a result of this product. In terms of permanent jobs, as you heard from Seth from Costco, in year one, there will be 190 permanent jobs projected to be created, growing into 250 permanent jobs by year 5. So what does that mean for Plainfield? Why is that a good thing? These are high-paying, highly benefited jobs that benefit your residents and the residents of surrounding communities. The Putnam labor market, which Plainfield is a part of, just for some context here, has 28,800 jobs total. So by adding 250 permanent jobs, you're essentially adding on 1% of that total to the entire calculation. As I said, these are high quality, highly benefited jobs, and as noted in your 2018 POCD, the goal for the town is to create new jobs, and this is certainly a way to go about doing that. So now we take a look at, okay, what do these dollars going into your community, into your residents, into the employees really mean? Based on Costco's projections, we estimate an average hourly wage of $26 an hour, which translates into just shy of $10 million in total wages, 9.7. That, in turn, is about $15 million when you combine the wages with the benefits. Why do we talk about the benefits in addition to that? Because those benefits are things that the employees don't have to pay for on their own. By being able to take advantage of health care and vacation time, other things like that go into those benefits packages, those employees have that disposable income to be able to spend in your community. The 5-year, year 5, translates into 15 million wages. What we then see, if we take out the taxes that, of course, everybody has to pay, it comes down to about just shy of $12 million in disposable income, 7.8, 7.9. So we've heard that obviously the first part of this structure is going to be built in Canterbury. So how does it benefit Plainfield? Well, Plainfield is a town that's about 3 times the population of Canterbury. You've got about 15,000 people. Canterbury is about 5,000. You have more restaurants, you have more shops, you have more places that people can actually spend money than Canterbury does. So all of those extra dollars can be filtered back into your community. And then talking a little bit, there we go. Going on to the other thing we were brought on to look at was potential residential property value impact. We know that's obviously a big concern of your residents. We want to be able to talk about that. In your report, you'll see that, again, Don Poland has sort of spelled all this out with a variety of different sources. If you're curious to dig more into it, I would certainly look at those footnotes and dig into those. They're really informative articles from things like Real Estate Appraiser and Analyst, Appraisal Journalism, the Appraisal Journal, and Journal of Real Estate Research. But one of the things that we want to mention particularly is a study from the Georgia State University. And really what that found, it looked into situations almost exactly like this, with an industrial development taking place next to residential developments. What we have found is that there can be a localized contraction of property values during the period of uncertainty, which is sort of what we're in right now. Right? We don't know what's happening. We don't know if it's going to happen, if it's not. But what we found is over time, those property values essentially expand back to what they were before. So again, take a look at that study, take a look at the footnotes, but they are essentially showing that we do not see any reasonably likelihood that there's going to be a decrease in property value because of this project. Additionally, so Don, and I hear the laughing, and I totally get it, because it's what you hear all the time, right? Something like this will result in lower property values. But the studies just don't show it. So one thing, so Dr. Poland, my colleague again, he has over 30 years of dealing with this line of work and this academia. I've got about 12 years myself. The one thing to note is over those 30 years for him and 12 years for me, once something like this gets built, we've never heard of a situation of, after the fact, property values being contested by residential owners. So essentially there's really very little proof that shows there's been any contraction in the long term for property values. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to Attorney Nuff.
Thanks, Justin. And so everything you've heard so far is in relation to our zone change application. And when we talk a minute about our regulation amendment application, I want to make something that Justin said very clear. He said the 250 jobs at year 5 is only for the first phase of development in Canterbury. It does not include any additional jobs for the full 1.1 million square feet in Canterbury, and doesn't include any jobs for the 1.1 million square feet of the potential building in your town. So his goal in preparing the study is to be very conservative, in the same way we're being conservative with every other report, all the other information that we're giving you. We're trying to be as conservative as we possibly can, including on the economic impacts, and nevertheless, it's quite significant. So there are several regulations that we're seeking to amend. The first two are really pretty straightforward. One is simply to eliminate retaining walls as having to comply with your side yard or rear yard setbacks. As Michelle mentioned, we're doing retaining walls and then a berm on top of that. We just want to make sure that that doesn't run afoul of your setback requirements. We're also making clear that the town line is also not a property line. We would imagine that these properties would merge and would go across the town line. So again, just for clarity's sake, we wanted to eliminate the possibility that someone might think or claim that the town line was a property line. Also, we're seeking to eliminate such buildings from section 19.2. So, well, those are our building design regulations. But if you look at them carefully in the context of a 1.1 million square foot building that is not going to be visited by the public, you can see that they're problematic. So for instance, there are articulation requirements, wall frame projections should be utilized to limit uniform facades for every 100 continuous linear feet. Well, so that obviously in the context of a building that would likely be constructed in the town, extremely difficult. There's a requirement for human scale elements, roof lines, materials, and colors. Again, they just don't seem to be appropriate for a building that is going to be utilized as perhaps a distribution warehouse use, and that won't be visited by the public. And then the last change is you have a maximum of 20 feet for lighting fixtures in town. 20 feet on a project of this magnitude would mean that there was be hundreds and hundreds of light poles. We're happy to discuss a maximum height. I think in Canterbury, the maximum height is the same height as the adjacent building. I think in our case, with the depot facility or the adjoining building, we'd probably be between 35 or 40 feet or thereabouts. Obviously, we need to have the lights be higher than the trucks that would be visiting. So we're happy to put a cap on it, but 20 feet would just be exceedingly problematic for this type of use. So that's our presentation. I know, Madam Chair, you asked how long we'd be. I think we did a pretty good job. We're all here to answer any questions. Obviously, we look forward to hearing from the public. So that concludes our presentation.
Thank you.
Oh, but by the way, I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I also note that we did receive this evening Ryan's staff report. I assume he's going to share that with you, but I think there's some very important information there. So, thank you.
Thank you. So this is a public hearing, so this is your opportunity to speak. I would ask that you please make a line behind the podium. Orderly, no racing, no running, all right? So if you could please make a line, I ask that you please stick to the 3 minutes per speaker so that everyone has opportunity to speak. If you have more to say, you are welcome to rejoin the line if you exhaust your 3 minutes. If a speaker has said something that you wholeheartedly agree with, rather than repeating all the points, you will just say you agree with them, all right? And I will offer the floor to you.
Pauline Blaze, South Street, my property address, where you intend to make your changes. I'm here today to request that the zoning commission not grant this zoning change to industrial for Costco. My property abuts the field where this proposed change is requested. I've lived in Plainfield since 1986, 40 years this year. My reason for buying the land where we built our house was because it's rural, peaceful neighborhood. There's no through traffic. We come in one way on Topa Road and go out one way. Many of my neighbors have been here as long as I have. They too have been paying town taxes for 40 years. I looked into what the zone change would mean. I visited the zoning office yesterday. They said that the change Costco's requesting would allow them to do whatever they wanted with the land, abutting my property. I also researched information on the industrial zone meaning. I read that the goal is to keep conflicting land uses, that is, factories or warehouses, far apart from a quiet suburban neighborhood in which I live. That won't be the result if this zoning change is approved. Our town did not do that when the Lowe's warehouse came into effect, and I think that was a mistake. When I heard rumors about the Costco possible warehouse, I approached our first selectman to ask about it. Again, I'm very concerned. He led me to believe there wasn't anything to be concerned about. I inquired later when it seemed that everyone had heard about the Costco project. So I'm very disappointed with the answers I got from our first selectman. I attended the first meeting that Costco presented, and I want to say, and I said at the first meeting, nobody's debating that Costco is a good employer, but you're not bringing us a store, you're bringing us a warehouse. They intend to build a warehouse in Canterbury and just need the land through Plainfield to pass through with many, many trucks. The first estimate I heard at the first meeting was thousands of trucks per day. I didn't hear anyone give an estimate this time. They say that in the future they may build another building on Plainfield land. I believe that's just a carrot they're dangling in front of Plainfield so they get the zone change that they want. So at this time, is there any real positive incentive to grant this zone change? Any great increase to tax revenue? Question. If the answer is no, then please consider the 50 or so residents who live in my quiet neighborhood who continue to pay taxes and have done so for 40 years. Please consider our request to keep our neighborhood rural and not industrial. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Pat Fontaine. I live on 22 Howe Road, Plainfield. I do object to this Costco going in because it's not going to be quiet in my rural neighborhood. Butchbridge Road is going to be used for the employees. 200 plus people coming up and down from either side, 169 or Route 12. That picture of the trucking going in and out of Costco does not include the northwest or the western facility that's right beside it, which has increased the trucking considerably. It is a rural residence, and it has not been quiet because of all the trucks already coming out of Tilcon. Now Tilcon's an American Sand. There's trucks coming up and down Butchbridge Road, pulling sand, gravel, whatever, out of Packer Road, and along Butchbridge Road. We have seen the impact on our small country road. There are some people that hear those trucks constantly. You can't tell me that Costco is going to be quiet with those trucks pulling in and out at all times. Like I said, we are not including K&H trucks pulling in and out. That will also include the whole area, not just Route 12 where they'll be pulling in and out of, Plainfield to get to the turnpike. That's a small area. You cannot get to the turnpike unless you go through that small road of Lathrop Road. I find that you're indicating to me that this property is going to butt up against Zero Howe Road, which must be the other end of a discontinued dirt road, which has wetlands. A spring bubbles up on the corner of that property that feeds into my well. I don't want any contamination from Costco. I appreciate the fact that you have a company that you're selling as wonderful benefits and would be a good place to work. I'm not applying for a job. I want to keep my residential area quiet, and I don't want any contamination on my property from the wetlands. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lois DuPoy. I live at 942 Norwich Road in Plainfield, just a mile up north from the Rington building, Costco. I do have some concerns in regards to where you're pulling out. It's a wider road, but it narrows as you come down Route 12 toward Lathrop. Being on that road, I'm 3 houses down from where the wood plant is and where Lowe's comes out. Traffic going by my house every day includes K&H, includes roadway, includes Tilcon, and also the Lowe's trucks that come at our intersection. How many, trucks are there going to be anticipated during the day? Is it a 24/7 operation?
So just direct your questions
Oh,
over
I'm
here.
sorry.
And just once again, a reminder to the public that this is not a site plan review. So the specifics of the traffic patterns and the traffic study are not being presented this evening. But in general, the current zone is residential. The intensity of traffic in an industrial zone will be more than a residential zone. So they did not present specific traffic information this evening because this is not a site plan review. But what we are looking at is the difference between a residential zone and an industrial zone. And as evidenced by the animations they showed, the traffic patterns will be significantly different.
Yes. And my other two concerns were, one of those being the road that the state will have to review. It's going to be widened, which would take some of my property away. And secondly, the sewer. They're planning on connecting to the Plainfield sewer. As I understand it right now, I'm not sure if it's coming down Route 12, and it ends at the Woodward plant. So that's other construction on that main dragway to the sewer all the way down to the building. In the end, I don't know if Costco's going to be paying for all of that, or the town is going to be paying for some of that. Which is very close. Considering the size of that.
Yeah, the microphone went out for replacement. So she was talking about infrastructure hooking up to the sewer and the water, which would be required under the project.
Right, and who would be responsible for payment of connecting all that and maintaining that? And those would be my questions and concerns.
So that would not be a question addressed this evening because this is not a site plan review. But it would be an additional factor in determining whether the property should be rezoned from residential to industrial. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jack Chasonic. I'm 358 Cape Downing Road at the top of the hill, not far from Route 1. I support and welcome the project. Plainfield, in the 23 years I've lived here, has been an evolving community. It's grown. These type of projects, I consider them welcome. They're not chemical plants. Granted, they're growth. A lot of people don't like growth, but it's got to happen somewhere. I support the project. Just wanted to speak in favor of it.
Good evening, folks. My name is Joe Toner. I'm from Quaker Hill, Connecticut. I am the Executive Director with the Connecticut State Building Trades, representing over 30,000 construction workers in the unionized construction industry and 14 crafts. We do respect what the folks are saying that live in town. We don't want to get in the middle of anything with that. We do respect their point of view. Our point of view is that we support the project. We support making sure that folks that live in these neighborhoods are working on these projects. Within the unionized construction industry, the folks that will be working on these projects will be making a livable wage with health benefits and a pension. That comes along with us in the unionized construction industry. The building trades. In the building trades, we also have an entity called the Building Trades Training Institute, where we work with young people in all communities across the state of Connecticut and make sure they have the access to get into our apprentice training programs. We have quite a few members in the building trades that live here in Plainfield. As you know, this is a blue-collar town. We have a lot of members here, and we're looking to expand the opportunities for the young folks here to work on this project through the Building Trades Training Institute and with the building trade. So we are in favor of the project. It will generate, I think the gentleman that came up with the numbers, I think they were conservative. I think if there's 129 construction workers that might be through every month throughout the course of the job, it's going to create a lot of opportunities for our folks, and a lot of opportunities for our folks that are Plainfield residents. So once again, we do support the project, and thank you for the time.
Chair, members of the board, my name is Paul Sweet, 260 New Road. I'm going to send me a letter, send it through Booster Post Office. I'd like to speak tonight, number one, in favor, 100% in favor of the proposed zone change. And the reason I'm speaking this way tonight, because I did put a lot of time in my life, in public life, and I've seen a lot of things happen in Plainfield. In the 80s and early 90s, we have mass exodus, if you will, of our industrial base. Israel closed with 300 jobs. Cavell closed. Staples and Garrity's moved out, 300 jobs. Warrigan Mills, C&M, 50 jobs. Brunswick, 50 jobs. Intermont, 50 jobs. Command Aerospace, 1,000 jobs. American Standard, 400 jobs. 2,200 jobs were lost throughout the 80s and into the early 90s. Let me tell you what we did. Not just us, but everybody, including the current first selectman. For me, we watched the industrial park be built. We had to rezone the land in order to do that. 200 jobs today in the industrial park. Obviously, we all were here, we were younger, or we were living in town when the dog track was built. But the dog track left, and Amazon moved in. It required a zone change. 150 jobs. My numbers are conservative. I was here for Lowe's, to be zone change for Lowe's. When we zone changed Robert Gluck's and Alex Osborne's property, over 300 acres, 200 jobs. Morgan Truck Body, we had to rezone there at the American Standard building. 50 jobs. I'm being conservative. Zone change, Western Express, 50 jobs. Zone change, Ritchie Brothers, 50 jobs. Zone change for Uline, 200 jobs. Plainfield Renewable Energy, 25 jobs. K&H Construction, at least 25 jobs. Through these zone changes, our industrial base grew with 1,000 jobs. Not only to mention that, the fact of the matter is, as we all went through the last reval a couple of years ago, and the whole burden, tax burden, shift to the residential property owners, and we all know what happened when that took place. Our industrial base, the only way that we can go forward is we have to locate industrial type jobs in new zones. Our plan of development calls, and always has called from the time that I was involved, even through now, to move south of the city. South, and we got to go south, east, southwest. But the fact of the matter is we did. And at the end of the day, the board has always made a positive decision for the greater good of Plainfield. And I do understand that these public hearings are for everybody, and I'm passionate about industry, I'm passionate about jobs, but let me tell you, I lived through the 80s and the 90s when you couldn't buy a job in Plainfield. You couldn't buy a job. And I couldn't wait for the day that Plainfield, we had to move north from all the development coming south up to the north. I couldn't wait for the day that Plainfield had these opportunities to make decisions, to grow the grand list, to raise tax money, to build schools, to educate children, create jobs. We want things done decently and right. If we pass this zone change, which I'm 100% for, I know the area, I walked it, I don't live there, and I know folks will get up, they're going to be against it. I've watched this for over 25 years. Some folks are against, some folks are for it, but the fact of the matter, at the end of the day, we got to do what's right for Plainfield. It's an honor and it's a privilege to have a company like Costco be interested in our town. Let's keep them interested. Let's support this zone change tonight. Thank you.
My name's Gary Shaw, we're over on Karen Drive. I got a couple of beefs with the town. I'm totally against this corporation takeover crap. I'm in the middle of a sand pit that's going to be pretty soon. They're expanding up 14 and around, and my backyard is going to be their sand pit. Totally against that. Now the other pit, sorry language, you got land available for these big corporations to come in and do all this building and crap there. We got an Amazon building up there, it's still, from what I understand, it's still ain't going nothing. And I was here in town when that was being built. I say, why not, you want tax revenue, why not put up some housing, some condos, apartment buildings, residential residences. We got available land like that, we got land to build on. And the one gentleman there talking about putting our youth to training and how to build this and that and the other. There it is, still right there in front of you. They can carpentry, plumbers, masons. Hello? That's all I got to say about it. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Commission. I am Kevin Cunningham, 405 Mr. Collins Road. I'm also the first selectman for the town of Plainfield. I am in favor of application 25-6ZC and also application 25-5TA. I just want to give you a little bit of background about how this came to be with the meetings that we had with Costco. We did have some meetings and talked about all the things that could be possible for the town of Plainfield. And they were very upfront and frank about everything that they wanted to do for the town of Plainfield. There were some questions and concerns. Every one of those times we had a question and concern, they answered them. We had issues with talking about where the trucks would do layovers, because the initial plan was to have a gate at the beginning of a portion of the site. And we said, well, if you're closing it down at 3:30, how are we going to have all these trucks coming in the evening and afternoon and then have layovers everywhere? The next meeting, they answered that call. And they told us about the changes that they were going to do on their property. So I appreciate that very much. The other things we were talking about is potential truck traffic. I know they're working on that already, so I do appreciate that as well. And we're also working with the town of Canterbury because, yes, you heard, this is phase 1 where they were looking to get the property to be rezoned so they can go into the property. And there's 2 buildings, one definitely going to be in Canterbury, and there's a phase 2 which would be coming into Plainfield. So we are working with Canterbury to be able to bring tax revenue in a shared venue with Canterbury for that first building. We're still in negotiations with them as we speak. So for the residents who are listening to this, saying, okay, all the truck traffic's coming in, but what do we get? We are working on that as well. I do reiterate with what Mr. Sweet said earlier about what we're looking to do to bring in more jobs. I think this is an important add to the town of Plainfield, and I think it's done properly and respectfully. And with that, I would say that I would, again, say that both A and B, the applications are in favor.
Good evening, Michael Supranat, selecting the town of Plainfield. Good evening, Chair and members of the Commission. I'm here in support of the proposed text amendment to allow industrial use. This change provides flexibilities for responsible growth, supports local jobs, and strengthens our tax base while maintaining appropriate zoning standards. By modernizing the code, we ensure development happens in the right areas with clear guidelines that protect surrounding neighborhoods. I appreciate the Commission's work on this amendment and urge your support to move forward. Thank you.
Good evening, Mark Nato, 13 Shepherd Hill Road, Plainfield. I will have been a resident of this town as of next month for 53 years. I have watched this town grow, not always in a good direction. And it was nice that I got to sit through the Costco information meeting, where they had said 600 to 700 trucks within a 10-hour period. That's an average of 53 trucks a second.
Ladies and gentlemen in the audience, I know you may want to discuss information, but we still have people speaking, so we just want to respect the speaker. So if you have conversations you want to have, if you could just take them outside so that we can clearly hear the speaker, that would be wonderful. Thank you so much.
So that'd be on an average of 53 trucks per second, on top of Amazon, Western, Uline when they finally become fully operational. I know that people have already started complaining about Amazon trying to get out of Big Y and started to become an issue. Now we're going to add to this infrastructure even more. Now, I'm assuming that the road is going to be widened. So there goes Hanks, a landmark within our town. How are we going to access the Hanks? What are we going to do about all these properties that are up against the property line? We generated and made all these ordinances and zoning regulations for a reason. To protect our properties, to protect the quiet corner of our state. Our quiet corner is turning into Warehouse Point. I've worked warehouse jobs. I got out of warehouse jobs, went on to better things. There are better things. A gentleman had asked, mentioned how we lost industry back in the 80s, in the 90s. We're not in the 80s and 90s anymore. There are jobs out there. We just have to get off our butts and get them. There are jobs everywhere. I work for the city of Norwich, not for the city themselves, but within the city. I have a great job down there. I don't mind the commute. Why are we trying to destroy our town even more? If Canterbury wants Costco, let Canterbury put the road in their town. And let's see what Lisbon has to say about it, when they're having 600 to 700 trucks in a 10-hour period coming down their roads. We got too much to worry about right now with other building projects that are trying to come into our town. So let's stop this one from coming into our town and destroying it further. Let's get back to Plainfield that I remember as a kid. Thank you.
William Van Pelt, 10 Perkins Street, Plainfield, Connecticut.
I vote yes for Costco's. I've lived here all my life. I think it would be great for the town of Plainfield. That's what I have to say.
He just said that he felt it would be great for the town of Plainfield.
Chelsea Schiller, I'm actually from Canterbury. I am 100% ready for Costco. A lot of people are talking about how it's bringing in jobs, and it is, and it's also helping the small businesses in Plainfield, because the more employees you have with Costco, the more they'll use the gas stations, the restaurants, any of the local businesses. So I just want to show them that I'm 100% ready for Costco.
I'm Wayne Malcolm from Canterbury, and I'm 100% for Costco. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. My name is Harry Heller. I'm an attorney with an office at 736 Route 32 in Uncasville, and I represent 3 of the property owners who are applicants before you this evening: PCAM, P&J Holdings, and Butts Bridge LLC. As the Chair indicated, this is an application both for a zone change and a text amendment, both of which are legislative actions requested of your commission. So in acting on these applications, you have broad discretion provided to you by Connecticut law. However, that discretion is not unlimited. In acting on legislative changes, the changes must be in conformance with the comprehensive plan of the municipality, which is embodied in your zoning regulations and your zoning map. And in acting on a zone change application, you must consider and make findings of consistency with your plan of conservation and development. As you saw when the zone change map was on the screen before you earlier this evening, the parcel that has frontage on Route 12 or Norwich Road is currently zoned I-1, which is a more intense industrial zoning district under your regulations. Through discussions with staff and negotiations pre-submission of the application, decision was made to change the zone from that parcel from I-1 to I-2, which is a more restrictive zoning district classification under your regulations, and which has parameters which are more protective of the environment. The reason I'm mentioning this is in considering the comprehensive plan, you already have a portion of this property in the more intense industrial zoning district classification. This proposal is to not only change that parcel to a more restrictive industrial zoning district classification, but to also incorporate the other parcels which are in the R30 zoning district classification. And what the totality of this project embodies is the creation of a campus environment with industrial depth off of Route 12. So this is what every community strives for, is to get some depth to their commercial and industrial zones, and not just get that strip development along your arterial highway. And this is consistent with your plan of conservation and development. Your plan of conservation and development, section 8, has an economic development section. And the overview says, the economic base of Northeast Connecticut has shifted from its earlier dependence on mills, large-scale manufacturing, and agriculture to a much more diversified economy, which includes tourism and light advanced manufacturing geared to niche industries, retail sales, medical field-related industry, and niche farming. Most communities have an economic development commission. Some have a paid consultant and economic development coordinator. These municipalities dream of this type of development coming to their municipality. And don't get me wrong, I think Plainfield has done a pretty good job with Amazon, with Lowe's. You've had significant amount of industrial and commercial development to help balance your brand list. But this is a unique opportunity which is going to have a generational impact, not just on jobs, but also on the economy of your municipality and adjoining municipalities. And I'm not just talking about the tax base that comes from the ratables or the revenue sharing that was talked about by your first selectman. But in the presentation from the applicant this evening, you heard almost $10 million initially in wages into the region and another 55% in benefits. That's not a raw number. There is a multiplier effect when those wages are paid in the region, because as the earlier speaker said, that money is spent and respent on local businesses. So this is a wonderful opportunity for the town of Plainfield. Opportunities are a moment in time. If this zone change isn't approved, if the subsequent applications aren't approved, at which time you will have the ability to evaluate some of the impacts that some concerned residents are voicing this evening, and to work that out through the site plan process. But if you lose this opportunity, someone else will take advantage of it. Costco needs a depot and a distribution center in the Northeast. If not here, then somewhere else. You have the opportunity presented to you this evening. There are good arguments on both sides, but I believe that this is a wonderful opportunity for the municipality, and as I indicated, will provide for generational change within your community to provide for its long-term economic well-being. Thank you.
Last call for comments from the public. So if you are sitting there on a comment you have not made, please rise and go to the podium, and then the board will open for questions.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Board. My name is Robert May. I'm property owner for 23 North Street, one of the adjacent properties to the southeast corner of this proposed development. I understand the proposed requests. I have a few questions related to the setbacks. They proposed verbally that they're going to keep and maintain those 25-foot buffer zones as required in the industrial area. However, the current maps don't show that. I'm assuming if during the project it will be evaluated. The text amendment they're looking to install retaining walls certainly would probably encroach on that to maintain that 20-foot buffer with the height that they're looking to do. So as long as that is restored in the 25-foot buffer, I would hope that would be considered. The second thing related to illumination and raising it, I have some concerns related to that. When a property abuts residential in the RA30 zone, then I would suggest that the commission consider requiring when an industrial property abuts residential properties that an illumination study be done for that, especially if you're looking to do that. So maybe this condition is part of that text amendment. And lastly, there was talk about well impacts and so forth. I know this is not the commission for that, but there is significant impervious pavement there, and all of those residential homes on North Street potentially are residential wells. I'm very concerned about the impacts to the wells based on the impervious amount of surface in the area. Thank you.
Thank you. That he's looking for a part of the site plan, not the zone change, but the text amendment does have some language about some various things that I'm going to have questions about. Go ahead.
Good evening, thank you. My name is David Jarvis. I currently reside at 95 Bunny Lane in Brooklyn, Connecticut, former Plainfield resident. I think this is a great opportunity for Plainfield to embrace this zone amendment text change to help create jobs, help create a future with Costco, who's offering great jobs on both the construction side and on the permanent side. The youth of today need opportunities close to home to build their skill set. I think Costco will be a great partner with this town in creating jobs, increasing the tax revenue. Their corporation is very engaging with the community, open to dialogue. They took our phone call, met with us, and so I would encourage you to move this amendment forward tonight, have the conversations about what the site looks like, how the traffic flows, but let's have that conversation, let's have that negotiation on the other side of this. Approve the amendment tonight so that there's a job in the future to talk about and to debate tomorrow. So, thank you.
Hi, Ernie Cololo, 169 Knowledge Road. I'm a big developer in this town, as you all know. I'm for the project 100%. I'm really here for the three families that are involved. Everybody's been saying for 40, 50 years, the Jaworski family, Capitero family's probably owned this land for 100 years. They've been paying taxes on this land that they can't get to. Our RA zoning, you know we can only build a road 800 feet. So that's why all this land's been sitting there forever. Please do them, justice. Pay them back for all the taxes they've ever paid. Let's do something with this land. It's been sitting there for a long time. Thank you.
How you doing? Back in Terrell, 64 Jim with Walking that day. I just want to say I am one of the landowners there. I am the existing gravel bank there. And I could say Costco will be a much better neighbor than I could ever be. I know there are people concerned with the number of trucks, but when that happens, the trucks that we haul out of there with gravel will be eliminated. And it's almost a zero net gain on trucks. So I get you guys are concerned about that. But you will gain them, but you will lose the other ones. Well, and you could not deal with a much better company than that. They are the most honest people I've dealt with in my entire business life. Thank you.
Hi, Angela Fuller. Sorry, wasn't prepared for tonight. Didn't think I'd have this many issues with it all. I am, unlike everyone here, I am new to Plainfield. I've only been here for about 4 years, but I do live right behind where they're proposing to build a beautiful berm to block their employees and executives from seeing the residents that live there. I certainly don't want to look at a berm in my backyard, and that's where I would be looking at. In the 4 years that I've lived here, Amazon's come. I've seen tons of Amazon trucks now. Ritchie Brothers is raping the land right across the street from us. Now Costco wants to rape the land. It is turned into an industrial nightmare. We have a ton of wildlife now running through our yard, where before we weren't getting as many. We have bobcats now all throughout. I am scared to send my granddaughter out in the backyard because of all the land being destroyed. We have wells that are going to be affected by this. We have our roads that are going to be affected by this. And to say that it's not going to be a big impact is just a lie. I mean, you guys did a really good job shining up that penny and showing it off to everybody. But the jobs that you're promising, they're not all going to come from Plainfield residents. Yeah. I work in a municipality really close to Plainfield, and even our employees are not from our town. They are from elsewhere. Amazon's employees are not Plainfield residents. So take a really good look at the numbers that they're presenting, because they shined them up real good, but they are not true.
My name is Colin Koch, and I just want to say that I am in favor of the Costco, and I think that it'll create great, well-paying jobs for the younger generation and my generation.
My name is Leonard Pettigrew. I support the Costco, and I believe it'll create a safe intersection down in
Dennis Dickens, Charlotte, Connecticut, Brookwater, Main Street. Every part of my life was spent in this town. I used to live there 20 years. EMS, fire. I think these jobs need to come to this town. People need to start waking up and seeing. The younger generation needs work too. So give them a chance. They can't stop.
I'm Jacob Tingley from Canterbury, Connecticut, and I am 100% on board with the Costco project. I believe it's going to open job opportunity for the surrounding towns and the surrounding companies in these towns. Thank you.
Tyler Bagnano from Plainfield. I'm for this Costco thing. I think we need some way to generate tax revenue, and I think this would be a good way to do that. I think we should look into that a little more, a little truck traffic. Thank you.
Holly Ojane, Sterling Hill Road, Woosop. I have, I don't know if this is a relevant question right now, but what is the mileage from the highway to the proposed entrance of Costco? I don't know if that's relevant today.
If they have that information, they can provide it. So do you know the distance between the driveway for Costco and the entrance ramp to 395? Mile and a half.
From Lathrop Road to Buttsbridge is more than a mile and a half. So I don't have the exact figures. I'm just concerned about that.
That would be part of the site plan.
Yeah. And also concerned about the excessive height light in the lighting. That is going to bring in a lot of light to the area. And I'm concerned about the houses in that area having to put up with that extra feet of height, light. So that's my concern about the project. Traffic and lighting.
So for myself, as a member of this board, in order to make a decision about a zone change and a text amendment, I'm going to need more information. So I'm going to ask that the board continue this public hearing. I'm going to be pretty specific in what I'm asking the applicant to bring back next time. So when we're looking at properties that are labeled with 0, there were some members of the public who were curious exactly where 0 is, right? And you can't make an assumption that it's actually the beginning or an end of a road. 0 represents any unnumbered parcel, and it could depend whether that's been developed or not. So what I'd like to see from the applicant for next month is the overall site aerial, specifically marked with 407 tar box, 0 tar box, 0 Howe, 0 Pine, and 1197, so that the public understands exactly what parcels are being proposed RA30 to Industrial 2. Also, the zoning map, same thing, specifically labeled, but also blown up, so we can actually see, because this teeny tiny is not accessible for eyes. So these 2 slides, blow them up, specify the lot. And the reason that is important, because regardless of your project, we're making a zoning change, which means every single parcel that we rezone, if they don't use it and they sell it to somebody else, that means that Industrial 2 use is available to somebody else to do something different, right? So this is bigger than just any one project. So that's why I think it's really important that we have the specificity so that we understand if we approve the zone changes and you decide, you know what, the Plainfield side is never going to happen, we're going to sell this to somebody else and they can do any I-2 use. So this is really important because the most important changes we make as a zoning board are text amendments, which tell you what you can do, and then zone changes, which tell you where you can do it. So I take this really seriously. I want to make sure everybody knows what we're doing, where we're doing it, and how we're doing it. All right. So then for the text amendments. Some of the proposed language is pretty exclusive and strong in the sense of saying you don't have to do that. So when we look at section 9.31C, where it says notwithstanding any other provision in these regulations, retaining walls are permitted within any, I would rather see softer language that gives the board more discretion. So I'd rather see something that says may be permitted at board discretion. Because there might be circumstances under which we do want some setback under those circumstances. So I'd like to see you work with staff to soften that language so that we can make sure that the public interest is being served. Because that's our role, the town, the people, and balancing those interests with business. So that's what I want to see on that. Item D in regard to the town line, it's a unique situation that I think that language would serve all purposes, so I'm not looking for a change in that language. Under 19.2, where it says building design, such building design guidelines shall not apply to industrial 1 and 2. Once again, there may be circumstances under which those should apply. So what I would say is that such building design guidelines may not be applicable and can be reviewed and waived at board discretion. Because once again, there might be a circumstance where it should apply. And we need to have that flexibility as a board to protect the public interest. Then when we're looking at the site lighting, it is alarming to not have a height maximum, period. So I definitely want to see some revisions to this language. So where it says except in industrial 1 and 2, maximum height, we need to have a maximum height, but there also has to be justification as to why and when and how those would be. So, for example, there was a previous application that went through Zoning Board of Appeals where they got specific height for specific reasons. So there was tractor trailer parking where the 20-foot wouldn't clear the traffic. So in certain areas, they had it at 30. So I would want to see language that, once again, gives flexibility under circumstances. So we want to have a general rule, but then flexibility with consideration for specific conditions. So that's what I would like to see for next month. Staff, do you have any other comments on my request?
No, I believe you covered everything.
Thank you. All right. So given that information, does applicant have any questions about what I'm asking for next month?
No, Madam Chair, we do not. I do want to know for the record, I understand your point about the zone change and being very specific. We did include a meets and bounds description. I know that for lay people, including lawyers who do this, is sort of, it's difficult, but we agree with you on the specificity, and we will come back with larger, clearer maps so that everybody knows.
All right, excellent. So given all of that, I will entertain a motion from the board to continue application 25-6DC. Oh.
For the record, Mark Briggs, Council Commission. Are there other commission members who would like the applicants to reply with something else?
Did anyone have anything to add? Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Did anyone have anything to add to my list? Okay. All right. Thank you, Mark. I'll entertain a motion to continue the public hearing for application 25-6.
I'll make that motion to continue.
Motion by June and a second by John. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hold on, guys. February 10th, 7 p.m. in this room. Okay, so So location to be determined and posted on the agenda.
Location will be here unless there's a sign coming out.
All right. So that was approved. The public hearing is continued to next month, February 10th. Application 255TA, I'll entertain a motion to continue that application.
I'll make that motion.
A motion by June to continue to our next meeting on February 10th, 7 p.m. at this location unless otherwise indicated. I have a second by John. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Public hearing is continued. We do have a very lengthy agenda to continue on. Some of you probably don't want to stay for that. So I'm going to call a 5-minute recess for those of you who want to clear out. And for those of you who want to stay, you are welcome to see the rest of our business. So 5-minute recess.